and welcome to another edition of Will's Video Game Addiction. Today we'll be looking at the Retro Freak video game console. It's an emulation system very similar to the Hyperkin Retron 5. It's a bit more advanced. It has options to play a few more game systems than the Retron 5. It plays Famicom, Super Famicom, Super Nintendo, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Genesis, Mega Drive, TurboGrafx 16, PC Engine, and Super Graphics video games. Now, this does not play the NES games without a Famicom to NES adapter. It has about 3 gigabytes of internal memory with the option to use a micro SD card as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's inside the box. So what we got here is our Retro Freak system in our box. And what's inside is a couple of pamphlets. Don't read, I assume this is Japanese. Don't read Japanese, so throw those aside. You got your unit here. So this is what it looks like. This is the controller slash cartridge port. So there's that. So this is a HDMI or an HDMI cable. Not sure what this is. Yeah, power adapter. Then this is a controller adapter, which is used to connect the original controllers. You'll see you've got an NES port, Sega Genesis, Sega Master System port, PC Engine port, which is significantly smaller than the TurboGrafx. Then we've got Super Nintendo and PC something or another. PC Super System, I'm not really sure. The name escapes me at this time. And then the actual controller, which I don't know, it feels light and kind of flimsy as they normally do. And I don't like the D-pad already, because you can already tell that, you know, you touch on one of the directional pads and the whole thing just kind of sinks in. I don't like that about a lot of these newer controllers that are made. So we probably won't be using that very often, but we'll check it out for the sake of testing things. And then this is the USB cable. This is round 2 of my usage of the Retro Freak, and I have to say I'm actually really glad. I had some audio issues and I'm having to do this again. So I tried something that I hadn't tried before. One of the big negatives that I had pointed out when I was using this before is that it doesn't play EverDrive games. It does, however, have an internal micro SD slot. And you are able to load games from the SD slot. If you select what system you're looking for, we'll go to PCE, PC Engine, and you'll see I have a ton of games loaded in here for the PC Engine. So you don't actually need a physical cartridge, which I initially thought. So we'll go ahead and put on AirZonk so you can see how that works. And there you go. Just kind of get into it, but yeah, you'll see it seems to run fine so far. Sound is decent, picture is decent. So we'll go ahead and get out of there. I'll press the home button to exit here and go back into the main menu. I'll go ahead and load up a normal TurboGrafx 16 Hue card. So what we'll do is go back to the cartridge option. It'll ask you if you want to install to the micro SD. I'll say no. We'll just go ahead and start playing some China Warrior. So initial impressions, at first I was extremely disappointed, and I had said when I first did my first recording that this system was garbage. And there's a number of reasons why I said that. Number one was that I was initially under the impression that they could play NES games, and I was in fact incorrect in that assumption. I had gotten some poor information. It does run Famicom games. I'm going to go ahead and put in a Famiclone game that I do own, the only Famicom or Famiclone game that I own, which is Super Mario Bros. 3. Go ahead and pop that in real quick so you can take a look at that. So when you start the game, it actually begins from where you last left off. I'm not really sure how to turn that option off, and I'll probably go into the settings later on and figure that out. For the sake of saving time, we'll just go ahead and skip that. So Super Mario Brothers plays as it should. Super Mario 3, excuse me. So we'll go ahead and exit out of there. Go back to the main menu. We'll pull that out. We'll throw in a Game Boy Advance cart. Let it go ahead and load up. Now there is an internal hard drive, and apparently it saves the games, or you can upload the ROMs to the hard drive. And I'm not sure if that's where the SD card comes in, or if you can actually save it to the hard drive without an SD. But we'll figure that out later. I'm assuming you can. I'm assuming the hard drive is just for, excuse me. I'm assuming that the SD card is for the actual games, and the hard drive is for game saves and system data. So we're going to try a little bit of Ghost Rider for the Game Boy Advance. Well, this game is ass, so let's go ahead and exit out of there. Let's go ahead and try a normal Game Boy game. And again, blown up, this just looks awful. But it's nice to be able to play this stuff without, staring at a tiny 1-inch or 2-inch by 2-inch screen, whatever the dimensions are. I still don't really know why one would necessarily want this over emulation on the PC, because this is an emulation system and it doesn't really add much, I don't think. Okay, well that's bizarre. So yeah, it's okay. It's recognizing TurboGrafx and PC Engine game. This is good. The biggest complaint I have about this system in general is the controller, which I guess is par for the course with these newer produced systems, or these retro systems and newer produced controllers in general, these third-party developers. I don't know why, these systems are 25, 30 years old, and the construction on the hardware, being, controllers and whatnot, they're so much more sturdy, the older ones, than they are now. I mean, they make these things like garbage these days. I know it's all about saving money, but I mean, this is ridiculous. These things are almost unusable. And shooters like this, where you have to constantly move around up and down, left and right, the D-pad sinks into the controller shell, and it makes it extremely difficult to play. So we'll go ahead and back out of there. It looks like everything plays the way it should. It's kind of nice. You've got save states. You can upload cheats, that sort of thing. Again, you can play Famicom, Super Famicom, PC Engine, TurboGrafx 16, Super Nintendo, Mega Drive, Genesis, Game Boy Advance, and Game Boy games. And also PC Engine Super System, I believe that's what it's called, which I don't have any games for. I'm really annoyed at the fact that it doesn't play NES games. However, I'm sure you can use a Famicom to NES adapter. I do not have any on hand right now. I'd have to open up an old cart to use that, just to to kind of see how things work out, and I'm not willing to do that right now. But what I will do is try to put all my Nintendo and Super Nintendo games on a micro SD card and play them from there. So how would I rate this? Well, that's a difficult question to answer. And the reason I say that is because as a collector, I don't really see a whole lot of use for it. I know how to download ROMs from the internet. Everything that I pretty much want to play, I can play without this, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to own an emulation system. However, for somebody who's new to the game and doesn't want to spend the money on used consoles, it's probably a fairly decent investment, though I do highly recommend at least forking over the money for the original controllers, because the pack-in controller is just garbage. So let's highlight the positives. What I like most about this system is that you can actually detach what's basically the brains of the system from the cartridge port attachment, and you basically have a system on the go that fits in your pocket, so long as you have a USB controller, the power cord, and an HDMI cable, and as well as the micro SD card loaded up with ROMs. So that's very nice. Ease of use, it's fairly easy. Once you get the hang of the menu system, it's alright. Obviously it saves a lot of space, and that might be a huge plus for a lot of folks, but not so much for somebody like me who's a collector who likes having their stuff displayed anyway. So some of the negatives, I'm not really fond of the interface once you turn on the system. One of the things I really don't like about it is if you have a lot of ROMs for a particular system, it takes forever to scroll through all of them. The biggest disappointment for me is the controller, which I kind of expected. A lot of these newer systems and newer produced controllers are just garbage for some reason. Again, the D-pad sinks right into the cartridge shell, and that makes some games unplayable. As far as the sturdiness of the system, it doesn't feel bad. Once I pop the cartridges into the cartridge slots, they seem to loosen up pretty quickly, whereas I initially had an issue trying to get them in. That's my take on it. You might or you might not agree with me. You can go ahead and leave a comment. We can have a discussion about it. I just wanted to get some information out there, because when I was looking for information on the system, I didn't find a whole lot. I found a lot of speculation, and a lot of stuff that I did see was in Japanese, and I couldn't read it or understand what people were saying about it. So I did order it, and I wanted to do a quick review on it and get it out there. So hope you liked it. Hope you enjoyed it. Tyler, did you get your screenshot, you fuckbag? Peace.